There is a chance that we might be witnessing one of the greatest investments of all time. Right now, there is rumors that Microsoft might put $10 billion into OpenAI, which is the AI company behind ChatGPT. They have a bunch of other AIs, think like Dolly and some other ones. I've used the majority of them, and all the AIs are insane. You know, a lot of people are excited about this technology and where AI can go from here because it is absolutely revolutionary, the things that AI is doing, and it's already changing how people work and cutting hours from work of what people need to do. You can just give it to an AI, it'll spit it out in a minute, and then there you go, you're good to go. But we are seeing Microsoft taking kind of an extra investment into OpenAI. They've already invested money into OpenAI. You can see right here, the news comes as Microsoft has looked at adding to the $1 billion stake in OpenAI it announced in 2019. The news site Semaphore reported earlier this month that Microsoft might invest $10 billion, and Microsoft declined to comment. So the fact that Microsoft's declining to comment may be a good sign this is probably true and going to happen. So Microsoft going in, taking a larger share. I think this will put them like almost 50% ownership in OpenAI. So they are going all in on this company, and for good reasons. Microsoft has always been that company that competes with Google. They tried the search engine thing. Bing lost to Google. And the big worry from Google and from other people is that something like ChatGPT or this OpenAI stuff can replace Google search and completely change how people really interact with the internet. And that could be detrimental to Google. After all, I think Google went into code red when ChatGPT started getting really popular and people really started experimenting with it and getting hyped about what it can do. I mean, just look at the adoption curves of things like ChatGPT compared to Instagram and Spotify. The path to 1 million users, it took ChatGPT 5 days to get there compared to Instagram 75 or Spotify's 150 days. So ChatGPT exploded in popularity, exploded in users, and people were shocked at what it was able to do. It's has the chance or the opportunity to drastically change the internet and move things in a direction that makes the internet even crazier than what it is already. We can see a little bit more details on this investment that Microsoft is potentially doing, saying the funding round will also include other venture capital firms and values OpenAI at around $29 billion. As part of the deal, Microsoft will reportedly take in 75% of OpenAI's profits until the initial investment is recouped. After that point, Microsoft will hold a 49% stake in OpenAI, while other investors will also hold 49% stake, and OpenAI's nonprofit holds 2%. So a pretty good deal for Microsoft here. It's putting in $10 billion, taking 3/4 of the revenue or profits, and it is profits of OpenAI until they pay off that 10 billion. At that point, they just have free equity in a company that is exploding on the scene and has insane AIs that everyone is excited about. Microsoft stock also moved up, maybe a little bit on this news, a little bit because the market's going up. But overall, this is a really good move for Microsoft to put Bing in competition with Google, which is a crazy thing to even say that would ever happen because no one would have ever thought that sentence would ever make sense. But with ChatGPT and the ability to let people surf the internet and ask questions and get it to do things that way, I think a lot of people would flood towards that if they integrated it with Bing, which I think is something they're planning to do. And if we compare this to some of the other greatest acquisitions of all time, even though this isn't really an acquisition, but we can see here everything from Marvel to ESPN to Maps to PayPal, Booking.com, Android, Next, YouTube, Instagram, and DoubleClick. All of these companies were acquired by what seemed like the tech giants. You can see every tech giant is here except for one, which is Microsoft. So they probably want to put their name on this list. But all these investments, all these acquisitions that these companies made have massive, insane, ridiculous returns. You can see even things like Google acquired Android. You can see they have a $112 billion return. They bought it for $50 million. That's insane. Google also, another big one. Google is really in this space here. Bought YouTube for $1.65 billion, got a $160 billion return on it. And then the biggest one here is this right here, DoubleClick, which Google bought for over $3 billion, and they got a $182 billion return on it. But DoubleClick, I'm pretty sure set the foundation for what Google advertising and their Google AdSense model started to be able to do. And the reason Google was able to basically print money is all thanks to DoubleClick and them getting that acquisition. So I don't think it'd be crazy to say that Microsoft, if they end up acquiring, they would own under half of the company of OpenAI. They could obviously buy out the rest of the stake. They have enough money to do that, probably. It'd only be another like 10 or 11 billion dollars for them to, or it'd be about 19 billion dollars for them to do that. And if they really wanted to, they could. And it's a good chance that Microsoft ends up on that list and ends up becoming one of the greatest acquisitions of all time, with OpenAI getting their AI and integrating into their own services. I think it will skyrocket what they can actually provide. Now, there is still competition. Google has their own Lambda AI that they're working on. If they get that up and running and compete with OpenAI, then who knows? Who knows what would win that fight? Obviously, one of them would win and keep market share. Google, with its backing in AdSense and its backing in this tech sphere, that it's basically been winning against Microsoft forever. Maybe it has an edge on that, or maybe OpenAI is so good and so advanced that it just goes ahead and takes over. But it's not all good news. This hasn't solved all of Microsoft's problems in the short term, at least. We can see them cutting thousands of jobs across divisions. So they're still laying off people, still dealing with recessions and cash flows and everything bad going on right now, just like every other big tech firm. And if we see here, we can get, I think, an approximate number that people are guessing or have some sort of insight on, saying the UK broadcaster Sky News reported that Microsoft plans to cut about 5% of its workforce, or 11,000 roles. So even the OpenAI, although it looks good long term, and I think it can go absolutely crazy if Microsoft does this right, the short term, still problems, still laying off people, and still got to figure out how to get to that long term so that they can actually take advantage of something like an OpenAI. You can see a quick recap of this, just talking about them putting in $10 billion, 75% revenue, all that stuff we already did. But the end here saying this will include GPT in Microsoft Office, not simply Bing. So clearly they have bigger plans. They're going to try and integrate OpenAI's ChatGPT and their AI into their search engine Bing, into their Microsoft Suite products like Microsoft Office and everything, into their cloud services. And it could absolutely change what Microsoft can provide and just explode in value. I completely see that happening in the next 5 to 10 years if they integrate everything correctly. So crazy times for AI. We all knew that after interacting with ChatGPT that it was going to change the way that the internet was interacted with and how it can absolutely explode the internet's capabilities and everything. So we'll see if Microsoft integrates it correctly. And if they do, this might be the greatest acquisition of all time. But that's going to do it for this video. As always, don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in my next video.